Hey everybody, it's Goblin X and welcome back to another premiere draft, of course set 2021. If you've seen the previous drafts, you know I haven't been doing that well in the format so far, but maybe we can turn that around and get our first 7-win run today. That would be fantastic. So let's see what we open and get into this draft. Alright, here we go. We've got a pretty fantastic rare in this pack in Brash Taunter. 5 mana for a 1/1 indestructible goblin. Whenever it's dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target opponent, and for 3 mana, you can tap it and have it fight another target creature. So this gives you a really powerful way to win the game, even if there's a board stall. You can have this just sit here and you dump mana into it to have it fight creatures and deal damage to your opponent directly that way. It also stops any opponent that has just a bunch of ground creatures as their threats from really coming at you, because if they do, they're going to start taking a bunch of damage. This card's just pretty fantastic. It's also incredibly hard to kill. There are obviously answers to this card, like Faith's Fetters is one of the best answers to it, because it'll make it so it can't attack or block or use its ability. But it is definitely a lot harder to kill than most cards, and they could end up having a removal spell that would kill most things, like something that damages it or something that destroys it, that just won't be able to kill this bomb, just because of that indestructibility. So moving on to the next pack, we do have a Grasp of Darkness. This is one of the best removal spells in the set at common. 2 black mana to give a creature -4/-4 until end of turn, so that can kill almost everything in the set that costs like 4 or less mana. Once you get into the high mana costs, most colors do have some really big threats that this can't kill, like Colossal Dreadmaws at 6 mana in green, Waker of Waves at 7 mana in blue, stuff like that. But most of the stuff that happens in the early game this can deal with, and it's another one of the answers for indestructible cards like Brash Taunter. Magmut would be the best card for sticking to red in this pack. I like it a whole lot. Probably the best common 2-mana creature in red. And then Bone Pit Brute, these tend to go really late in the packs. If you've seen my previous drafts, you've definitely seen that. I've picked some of those up really late. And this is kind of a weird pick because it's not something you're going to see super often. But I might take this Conspicuous Snoop. 2 red for a 2/2 Goblin Rogue. You play with the top card of your library revealed, and you may cast goblins from the top of your library, and as long as the top card of your library is a goblin card, it's got all activated abilities of that card. So it's cool with Brash Taunter, because like maybe we have the Taunter on top, and all of a sudden we get to fight this off with something. That would be kind of cute. Or we just get to cast it off the top. That's a really rare occurrence, though, and it is kind of a difficult mana cost for a 2-mana 2/2, and there aren't a whole lot of goblins in the set, so it's probably not the best pick. But I did want to just highlight it here to show off that this is one of the very few times that that card will actually do something other than being a 2-mana 2/2. For that reason, though, I'm probably just going to take a second Grasp of Darkness. Definitely a good sign that we're getting this pick 3. That means they probably took other decent removal spells or uncommons or something before this, because as you can see, the rare's still in here. 2 of the uncommons are in here. So we know people aren't slam picking the good black removal immediately, at the very least, so this could mean black is kind of open here. There are a lot of cards that I like a lot in this pack. There's a Bloodfell Caves for fixing our mana with what we have currently. There's a Waker of Waves if we want to move into blue. I do like this card a lot. It's got that cycling ability if you don't have the mana to cast it, plus just a really big powerful threat if you get to 7 mana. And the cycling ability lets you reanimate it. If you're in blue-black, there's cards like Rise Again that can bring things back from your grave. If we're going to take a card that's red or black here, I am just going to take the Magmut. So it's probably Waker of Waves, Magmut, or Bloodfell Caves. I do think Brash Taunter is just a strong enough red card to make me really want to commit to red, to the point where I would take a Magmut over Waker in this pack. This is going to be a really easy... Oh my god, these Grasp of Darknesses are everywhere. I was going to say that this would be a really easy shock, but a 3rd Grasp of Darkness too is pretty insane. Just a really weird way for these packs to have been collated. Like the randomness here of just, alright, there were actually just Grasp of Darknesses in like 3 of the 5 packs I've seen so far. Just even opening a Grasp of Darkness in 3 out of 5 packs, let alone being past 3 of them, is kind of insane. You know, for that reason, I'm just going to slam the Grasp of Darkness first. I think it is, you know, at least on par with Shock, if not a little bit better. And, like, black is clearly decently open, whereas red, we haven't seen a ton of red cards. We've just been seeing Magmuts. That shock there is a good sign for red, though. So now it's between Liliana's Devotee and Skeleton Archer. Liliana's Devotee is a 3-mana 2/3 at the beginning of your end step. If a creature died this turn, you can spend 2 mana to create a 2/2 zombie. So this could potentially create many cards off of just the one. You get a 2/3 and several 2/2s over a long game. Skeleton Archer is also decent in that it can give you that value as well of, here's a 4-mana 3/3. When it comes into play, you could do 1 damage to one of their 1 toughness creatures, so you kill that, and then you can trade it off with one of their 3 toughness creatures later. So this could also be like a 2-for-1. I just think Devotee is a little cooler, a little more interesting. It's more of what I'm into here. And I mean, things are looking good for red, because that's a turn to slag still in here, so I think I'm just going to snap that up. 5 mana for 5 damage to a creature. That can kill, similar to Grasp of Darkness, most things in the set, just not going to be killing Colossal Dreadmaws and Waker of Waves size things. So we definitely want to pick up at least 1 or 2. I forget what the name of it is, but there's a 5 mana black instant that's just destroy any creature or planeswalker. Now we got the black-red uncommon. There's nothing else in the colors that we've drafted so far in this pack, so that's a pretty easy choice. And it's really nice that it is the signpost uncommon for black-red. This is kind of the strategy you can really build around with black-red. Currently, we don't have like anything that combos with the whole sacrifice strategy, so this is just a 3-mana 3/3 basically right now. But we are in the colors to be able to use that ability effectively. We could end up picking up some stuff like Goblin Arsonists or I forget what the steal a creature effect is called in this set, but there is a 4-mana sorcery that lets you steal a creature till end of turn, and that's obviously a pretty good combo with the Direfleet Warmonger as well. Probably going to take Goblin Wizardry out of this pack. It'll give us some 1/1 tokens to sacrifice to the Warmonger. Also gives us some 1/1 tokens to trade off with things to create more tokens with the Devotee. Just get some death triggers on the stack. Now we'll definitely take this Bone Pit Brute. As I said before, they go pretty late. And as you can see, there was very little like decent cards in that pack. Bone Pit Brute was one of the better ones. This pack's pretty good for this late. It's kind of crazy. I don't think I'm gonna play a Burn Bright, but if I end up with like 4 Goblin Wizardry or something, it could turn into a Burn Bright deck. Pretty rare, but I don't really want to jump into green or white here, even if the green and white cards are definitely better in that pack. Definitely, well, Crash Through a Crypt Lurker. I think I'll take Crypt Lurker, actually. 4 mana for a 3/4. When it enters the battlefield, you can sacrifice a creature or discard a creature card, and if you do, you draw a card. So obviously we'd preferably be sacrificing like a 1/1 token to draw a card. If we get to do it at a time like that, it'll be pretty nice. Alright, see what we open up in our second pack. We did open up a pretty powerful rare, however, it is not black or red. It's a green card, Primal Might. A green and X for target creature you control to get +X/+X till end of turn, and then fight a creature you don't control. So pretty powerful card, but it's not something I'm really looking to play. We do have 2 cards that require double red, 3 cards that require double black. Our mana costs are kind of restrictive here to the point where it would be more difficult than usual to splash in a 3rd color, and I don't have any mana fixing at all yet. So I don't think I'm going to try to just start splashing in a Primal Might here. I think I'm good to just take another Liliana's Devotee or another Grasp of Darkness. Those are definitely the 2 picks here. I would be interested in wheeling a Rise Again or a Bone Pit Brute. Rise Again can be a pretty cool combo if you like Crypt Lurker and then discard a Bone Pit Brute. Then you can play the Bone Pit Brute on turn 5 with Rise Again, so that could be a cool combo. And then obviously Bone Pit Brute's just a decent card, so I'd be fine with wheeling that as well. There's no way that Grasp of Darkness is going to wheel, but I do already have 3 Grasp of Darkness and a turn to slag, so I prefer grabbing another Devotee over here, because it fills something that I have less of, which is good creatures. Probably going to take the Chandra's Magmut here. I just like that card a whole lot. Tavern Swindler's a weird one. It's good in the black-white life gain deck. So basically, pay 3 life, flip a coin. If you win the flip, you gain 6 life. I mean, you have a 50-50 chance of gaining 3 life, and a 50-50 chance of just losing 3 life. So essentially, on average, you're just tapping this to do nothing. But the fact that half the time you're tapping this, you're technically gaining 6 life, means it triggers all of your abilities that care about life gain, like Light of Promise, all this stuff that says at the end of your turn, if you gain 3 or more life in this turn, you do something crazy. It triggers all that kind of stuff, so it's definitely good in the black-white deck, but here it basically taps to do nothing on average. Silver Smoke Ghoul, another great one that cares about you gaining 3 or more life in a turn, so just another good combo for that card. But we're black-red, we're definitely not a life gain deck, we are a Rakdos, aggro, sacrificial, damaging kind of deck. We're going to take a Finishing Blow in this pack. That is the 5-mana instant that destroys a creature, Planeswalker, that I forgot the name of earlier. But I did say I was interested in it earlier, and I'm still going to take it now. Things are looking incredibly open in terms of the black cards. The fact that there's still a Finishing Blow and Grasp of Darkness in this pack on pick 3 means at least the first 2 people that pass to me are very unlikely to be black, because I feel like you would just take one of these if you were in a black deck, pick 1 or pick 2. I suppose it all depends what the rare was, but all the uncommons are still in here, so maybe there was a black rare or something. Scoop up that Finishing Blow. There's a lot of great picks here. We could grab another Chandra's Magma. We could take a Deathbloom Thallid. This does work well with our sacrifice abilities because it's 2 creatures on this one card. And Hellkite Punisher is just a great game ender. A lot of mana, but if it resolves and doesn't die immediately, your opponent definitely dies. Lots of really good cards in this pack. I can definitely wheel something decent out of here. I think I'm just going to slam the Hellkite Punisher. That card is just so strong. I have won and lost games entirely just because a Hellkite Punisher showed up. I think I'm alright just picking up a Kinetic Augur. The worst case scenario with this card, even if you don't have a lot of instants and sorceries in your deck, is you can just use this to discard some lands in the late game to draw some more cards. And we actually do have a decent chunk of instants and sorceries. 3 Grasp of Darkness, Goblin Wizardry, Turn to Slag, Finishing Blow. That's 6 already, and we're not even halfway through the draft. So we could actually go for a pretty instant and sorcery heavy deck. This pack, we could pick another Bone Pit Brute, or we could take a Masked Blackguard. 2 mana for a 2/1 flash. For 3 mana, you can give it +1/+1 till end of turn. Black card would probably be the best card in this pack, but Transmogrify just seems fun. Probably pretty bad and limited, but you could potentially use this on like one of your goblin tokens from a Goblin Wizardry or one of your zombie tokens, and then just the first creature that you see out of the top however many cards of your library, you just get. So if we end up with a lot of Hellkite Punisher type stuff, maybe. I doubt this card is that playable and limited, but the 2 mana 2/1 flash is not that good, so I'm not really passing up on a whole lot of value to try out a Transmogrify for a game or 2, just to have a little fun. This pack is just empty in black and red. Infernal Scarring is just such a small buff. I suppose you do get to draw a card, at least if they kill the creature. And Destructive Tampering, if you draw this at the wrong time, it's just a dead card. So I guess I'll just take the 5 mana 3/5, because at least it's castable. It's a really good blocker. And wow, Finishing Blow still in the pack, pick 8. Really nice. Really, really nice. Pretty easy pick here. I don't have any Reanimate spells in my deck yet to work with this Gloom Sower. I do have now a Crypt Lurker and a Kinetic Augur to discard high mana cost creatures, so I could pick this if I really think I'm going to wheel Rise Agains, which if I'm wheeling Finishing Blows, I think it's pretty likely I'll start wheeling those Rise Agains. So there would be an argument for that, but there's also the fact that we've seen a million Bone Pit Brutes. If I need to pick up high mana cost cards, I can just start grabbing all these Bone Pit Brutes, but I think I'm just going to take the smaller cards first. And now I'll go ahead and take the Blackguard. I think a 2 mana 2/1 flash that could potentially get pumped up is a little bit better than the 2 mana 2/2 that, as I said before, on average does not do anything. Now I can try out Silver Smoke Ghoul. I don't have any life gain yet, but it's still a zombie, so it combos with Devotee a little bit, and I could just sacrifice it to draw a card even if I'm never gaining life. 3 mana 3/1 I could sacrifice to draw a card is kind of whatever. I'm going to go ahead and pick up a Rise Again here. This is kind of the same sort of deck that I drafted the very first time I drafted this format on my YouTube channel. And it did not work out so well that first time. But maybe, just maybe, second time's the charm. It looks fun either way. So Trader's Greed is the steal a creature spell. We could use this to grab one of our opponent's creatures and then sacrifice it if we have any sacrifice outlets. We currently don't have any this late in the draft, which is insane. I suppose we do have a Crypt Lurker, but that's 4 mana to do that, so we wouldn't be able to steal it and then sacrifice it until turn 6, because we could spend 4 to steal their creature, get the 2 mana out of Trader's Greed, and then we'd have 2 lands untapped, so then we'd spend 4 on Crypt Lurker. I honestly think I have 2 sack outlets, I guess. Direfleet Warmonger and Crypt Lurker. I still think this is going to be the best pick out of this pack, because the other black and red cards are pretty mediocre. Spellgorger Weird would probably be the second best card there, and we should be able to see some form of sack outlet, at least one, somewhere in this pack, just because black and red have a lot of them. Here I'll go ahead and take a Fetid Imp. I guess I do have a Rise Again now, if I want to grab this Thrill of Possibility to have another way to discard high mana cost creatures like Hellkite Punisher to try to Rise Again. But I think I'll just take Fetid Imp. That's just going to be good in every draw, no matter what. Now there's another Rise Again, or a Pitchburn Devils, Igneous Cur, or Goblin Arsonist. All of these are just pretty average, pretty fine cards for the deck. We do have a lot of stuff at 5 mana. I guess if we take Epitaph Golem out and we treat Finishing Blow as something that we're just casting whenever we need to rather than on turn 5, same with Turn to Slag, we don't have a lot of cards that we consistently want to just slam down on turn 5. Yeah, I kind of want to take another one of these big cards. I don't know how good that is. I'm going to take a Pitchburn Devils here. It worked pretty well in the last red-black deck that we had out of all the things. These Finishing Blows are just everywhere. I'm not going to stop taking them, but this is more Finishing Blows than I think I've ever seen. And as I said before, I was pretty sure we'd be able to pretty easily get at least one Sacrifice Outlet because red and black have them at common. And we found one in Hobble Fiend. I would love to pick up a Deathbloom Thallid here, but I think I want to just make sure Trader's Greed can always kill something, so we'll get some more Sacrifice Outlets in this deck. Now, there's Onaki Ogre, Spellgorger Weird, and Sky Scanner are all fine. We do have 2 Chandra's Magmut to go with the Pyreling to trigger that ability and give it Double Strike, which makes it a decent card, but we don't have any shocks in this deck, so it's just like the Magmuts to give Double Strike, and we don't have any pump spells to get a lot of value out of the Double Strike, so probably more interested in Sky Scanner or Spellgorger. Suppose we do have a giant stack of non-creature spells. Once we get to high mana costs, we'll just keep spamming removal spells and making Spellgorger Weird bigger, so that's, that could be okay. I do feel like I have a lot of stuff at 2 mana now. I guess I do have triple Grasp of Darkness as well, so I have a lot of stuff to trigger Spellgorger Weird. Yeah, I don't feel like I need a Cur. I could grab a Village Rites for another way to sacrifice things. I don't know if I'll be running that main deck, though. Another Grasp of Darkness. People are just not respecting the removal in this draft. I guess they just don't want removal. Fair enough. This is a hard choice, because Crypt Lurker is really cool. It's decent. It's quite good with our deck, because it gives us a way to discard a big creature to Rise Again, or sacrifice a little creature token and draw a card, but I mean, I agree with the auto picker. I don't think we can really just pass up the 4th Grasp of Darkness. We can just be removal.deck over here. Definitely going to take a Caged Zombie. With 1 million removal spells, we could actually trigger its ability to have opponents lose 2 life pretty often. We'll definitely take a Goblin Arsonist, only thing in our colors. And start grabbing random stuff. We could actually play a Sure Strike, but like with 4 Grasp of Darkness, 3 Finishing Blow, 1 Turn to Slag, I don't think we're running any pump spells. Pretty sure every non-creature card in this deck is just going to be a flat-out removal spell. At this point, just a ridiculous removal suite that we have at our disposal. So let's go ahead and whittle down our cards here. Definitely want to cut our non-removal instants and sorceries. So sorry, Transmogrify. Goblin Wizardry, I still like the idea of having these 1/1 tokens to sacrifice, but the 1/1 tokens are really at their best when you can be constantly triggering Prowess, which I guess we can, just with all the removal. I don't know. I think I'm gonna just make this deck as Just lean into the fact that this is a decent black-red deck with a ton of removal, rather than trying to do anything fun or cheeky like I was thinking about initially with stuff like Rise Again and Transmogrify. Yes, it could lead into some fun, explosive plays every now and then, but I'm going to go for something more consistent because this deck looks really consistent in terms of its removal. We will consistently have removal all the time, so I think I'd rather be able to just curve out like 2 drops into 3 drops consistently to have nice little aggressors on the ground and then try to just kill everything they play and kill them that way, just with a pretty consistent, pretty baseline standard kind of draft deck here. Certainly not going to end up being as interesting or as exciting as it seemed at the start, but it should be good at least. Alright, so that whittles it down to 40 cards now, but I might want to throw that Pitchburn Devils back in, swap something else out. Maybe the Traitorous Greed can come back in too. Take an Arsonist out and put a Greed back in. I have Direfleet Warmonger and Hobble Fiend, and then 1 Crypt Lurker. Yeah, I mean, Traitorous Greed seems a little bit loose in this deck. Probably want Pitchburn Devils in over that, and then this could be our 40. Seems fine to me. Yeah, let's go ahead and try out this 40-card deck. Alright, here we are in round 1 with our Rakdos removal deck, as you can see, with Grasp of Darkness and double Finishing Blow as the opening hand. I will go ahead and keep it because I can play a Grasp of Darkness starting at 2 mana, so as long as I draw like a couple creatures like this Liliana's Devotee I just picked up, I have really good responses to anything they play. I'd rather they not really ramp into stuff, so I'll go ahead and just spend the Grasp right now. That way this turn I can drop a land, drop my Devotee, and pass back to them. We will be casting a Crypt Lurker next turn, probably just as a 3-4. Suppose it depends on what I draw, but I'm unlikely to draw any creatures that I want to sacrifice, or that I want to discard. I definitely don't want to sacrifice my Liliana's Devotee. I will offer the trade for the Death Toucher, though. Alright, seems fair. Now we drop the Crypt Lurker and pass. Oh, you can actually sacrifice the Crypt Lurker to itself? That's really interesting. I like that they gave it that versatility, because usually on these kinds of cards, the way they've been making them recently, it's always like another creature. But the fact that it can sacrifice itself in that really niche scenario, where say your opponent has like lethal flying damage on their field and you have like 9 lands and you draw a Crypt Lurker, you could play your Crypt Lurker and sacrifice itself just to try to draw into a finishing blow or something. So that's cool. So we don't have a lot going on now. Our opponent doesn't either. They're just going to poke us for 1 a turn. If they play a really big scary creature, say a Colossal Dreadmar or something, we'll just shoot that dead. I think I'm fine just leaving that cat on the field. I'm definitely fine leaving the spider on the field. That's just 1 damage a turn for now. I think I'm just gonna go to my turn, draw another Grasp of Darkness, alright. Probably grasp the cat then and take 2 a turn for a while. Titanic Growth would be pretty bad. Looks like they don't have that though. Oh my god. I mean, this is the deck we ended up with, so we're gonna keep taking 2 a turn. I just want to save these answers for anything that puts us at more than 2 damage a turn. We're on an 8-turn clock now. There we go. That is gonna get us right out of this. However, the only creatures that we've left them with are only 1 power, so we can only do 1 damage to them a turn. So actually, that doesn't really help us at all. This is one of those really rare scenarios where Brash Taunter is kind of worthless on this board now that I think of it, because the Flyer's going to keep getting in there. Dreadmaw has Trample, so we can't let that just survive. I think we have to Finishing Blow Dreadmaw. Do I have enough mana? No, I don't even have enough mana to fight Dreadmaw and throw a Turn to Slag on it, so I'll have to Finishing Blow. Finishing Blow isn't instant though, so I can wait on that. I'm very, very surprised that they didn't attack with the Spore Cap Weaver. I'm super happy they didn't though, Because the reason that I realized that, yeah, Brash Taunter's super useless right now is because if Brash Taunter just keeps blocking the Weaver, whenever it's dealt damage, they get to spit out a 1/1 Sapling and gain a life. So actually, Brash Taunter just really sucks right now. Because it's not... I'm not going to sit there and infinitely block the 1/4 with it. Because that'll actually just result in me taking more damage. And I guess I could do like a really weird play of like block it this turn and then block their 1/1 next turn, then block it this turn, block their 1/1, and that would stop 1 damage every other turn. So I suppose that's a thing. Alright, so now I actually have the mana to go ahead and turn to slag their spider, and now I can use Brash Taunter to fight their flyer, so I can clear the board. But again, with my opponent not having any big ground creature on the board, I don't really have threats of my own when all I have is a Brash Taunter. They've got to play something decent for me to start fighting to do a lot of damage to them, but I can clear this board, so there's definitely that going for me. And we're just going to try to fight right now, because even if they have the pump spell, I don't have anything to stop the pump spell. So, just let them use it, really. Alright, they allow the fight to happen. They're down to 21. We're getting there. Here's another Sky Scanner. I mean, we've really got control of this game. We just, as I've said, have no way to kill them yet. Brash Taunter will eventually, theoretically. It'll just take quite some time. But I definitely don't feel under any danger in this deck with this hand. Down to 20. I suppose they only have 17 cards in their deck, and I have 22, so maybe it's a mill game. Whenever that becomes a target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, they get to draw 2 cards. I don't know if I can sit here and just keep fighting that, so I might want to just finishing blow that. The fact that Harbinger has hexproof for black is super bad for me, but it doesn't have trample, so I can just block that forever with Taunter. So for that reason, I will finishing blow the Warden, let them draw a couple cards, but now I can block their other threat permanently. If their only threat on the board was the Warden of Woods, I might just not even target it, just sit here and try to block that with the Taunter. But since they played 2 decently sized threats, I'll now try to just block that one with the Taunter instead. And now I get to start doing 4 damage to them a turn, even if they don't attack with the Harbinger. Unfortunately, I don't have any sort of instant speed tricks if they try to do pump spells and nonsense on the Harbinger. I have 2 black removal spells in hand, and they cannot target a card with hexproof for black. So here's a Sabertooth Mauler. It'll get a counter whenever something dies. And a Llanowar Visionary, just a little 2/2. They put a counter on the Maze Mind Tome. Go to combat. No attacks. I don't know if I want to do 4 to them this turn, or if I want to just play it as safe as possible and just get rid of the 1/1. I think I'm just going to get rid of as many of their threats as possible. Now a caged zombie. Not bad. Now I can block their 2/2 and their 4/3. They have drawn a lot of cards thanks to stuff like this Maze Mind Tome and Sky Scanners and stuff that they played earlier. The Warden as well drew them 2 cards, so they've really got the card advantage. If they draw into a Grasp of Darkness, that'll pretty much just kill me. Liliana's Standard Bearer. 3/1 with Flash. When it enters the battlefield, they draw X cards, where X is the number of creatures that died that turn. So that could draw them a bunch of cards too. We're probably entirely on the mill plan now that they're down to 10 cards in library, with another card that could potentially draw them a lot in hand. They're going to eliminate my caged zombie. Not a fan of that. They are starting to go wide enough that they could just kill me pretty soon, because I'm at 12. Alright, they go to the end step, get a counter on the Sabertooth Mauler. I could either fight their 4/3 or just kill that right now. We know that they just have a 3/1 in hand and 2 other cards. I think I'll just let that happen. Just do 4 damage here. I don't want to do that and then have them play some kind of large creature with trample that I just can't stop any damage with, even with an indestructible creature. Especially like if the top card of my library is just a mountain, I can just finishing blow something this turn instead. I should be saving these lands in my hand. Now that I hit 8 mana, that's enough to cast Finishing Blow and use Taunter's effect. So I should not have played that land, just in case I draw into my Kinetic Augur. Because then I could discard that land to draw something else. Our opponent is down to 8 cards in library, but Garruk is a pretty massive threat. We will have to Finishing Blow Garruk, because otherwise... I mean, does this do it to any target? Just target opponent. So I can't damage their planeswalkers with Brash Taunter. That's very unfortunate. I will have to Finishing Blow Garruk. And unfortunately, the way that planeswalkers work, they get to use the ability at least once before I get priority to try to kill it. So they're getting at least like a 3/3 out of this, or giving something trample this turn. Unless they choose to go to combat before they decide, then I can kill it before they do anything with it. They do! Yeah, I'm just very much going to die to Garruk if I don't kill Garruk. I'll still probably die to their non-Garruk threats, but...
Don't think this is over.
The fact that they allowed me to kill Garruk without getting any loyalty abilities out of it makes me very happy. So they may just have a Titanic Growth to kill me with immediately here. Even if they do, I do not think that killing Garruk was the wrong play at all. And I'm not 100% sure how the priority works there, at least on Arena, which is why I just chose to kill it immediately there. I wouldn't know if they, like, went to combat and then chose to go back to their main phase, if I would still get that chance to immediately kill Garruk. Unfortunately, I am just going to die. They're at 11, I can put them to 7. I only have 2 blockers against 4 attacking creatures. Only 2 of them need to hit me for them to win. So that was unfortunate. I think if they didn't have any threat last turn, I might have been in a decent spot. They've got a Finishing Blow as well. Well, if that's the case, I probably would have lost either way. Garruk was definitely the nail in the coffin, though. So if I somehow survived this attack, I would have at least have put them to 3 life. We can call that a close one. Very sad game. Opponent definitely just had a lot of great value cards that drew them multiple cards. The Tree Folk drawing 2 cards was really nice. The multiple Sky Scanners drawing some more cards. Okay. Get ready for another game like that. We've got the removal and we've got the Taunter. Red-black control is my actual strategy today. This deck is really dumb. So, if this opponent doesn't have a bunch of good value cards that draw multiple things, this hand is going to be very annoying and hard to beat. However, they're black-white, so they could have tons of stuff that could kill Brash Taunter. They could have their own Grasp of Darkness. They could have Faith's Fetters. They could have Exile-based removal. A lot of stuff. Hopefully they don't, though. Here's a Bosri's Lieutenant at 4 mana. 4 mana, 4/5 Vigilance. If they don't have a way to kill this Brash Taunter is going to straight up brick wall that thing. Just keep it off my face. It does have protection from multicolored, though. That is one of the things that I don't like with the design in this set, is that there are cards with protection and cards with hexproof from. And I feel like that can be a little confusing to have both in the same set. Okay. I think I just pass. I save up the mana to fight something or finishing blow something. Anointed Chorister. They do have the mana to give that +3/+3 until end of turn, but any time that they tap out from doing that, I can kill it with my Taunter. And I can try. Wow, I don't know what happened with my voice there, but I can actually fight it right now, force them to pump into it, and then fight it again next turn, but then I won't have the Taunter to block things with. They've got one card in hand. I'm going to fight the Chorister. I'm going to focus on trying to win this game via just a value, like card advantage type plays. Because the fact that I'm at 20 life, I can make that play to kill the Chorister because it doesn't cost me a card. It just costs me mana and some life. And so now I can trade with the Archer and I just take this 4 damage. Like, I'm fine taking the 4 because I know until they draw something that deals with Taunter, I'm not going to take any more damage any turn from now on, so I get to sit at a comfy 16 life for a while now. So that is why I played the way I did. Now I can Cage Zombie and still use Brash Taunter's Fight ability. Now it's going to my turn, so we'll go ahead and do some damage to them. Yeah, I feel like I just have this pretty much on lock now. Now I get to do 5 damage a turn, 4 from the Taunter, plus a 5th from the Magmut. Just keep things handedly under control with my triple finishing blows as backup. Obviously, if they ever kill my Brash Taunter somehow, the plan is going to be to start finishing blowing all of their creatures and just attacking with my other stuff. But until then, I'm very safe to just play like this. They've got 2 turns to live. Actually, they only have 1 more turn. Because if they don't do something about my field this turn, I can deal 5 to them during their turn and then 5 when I untap. So this is it right here. Light of Promise. Okay. It's not going to do anything here. So that should be game. They're going to give lifelink to their creature until end of turn to stop this damage. I'm trying to think if Finishing Blow would end the game. If I Finishing Blow that, it turns into a 2/2. Then I can attack with my Caged Zombie. That still doesn't end the game immediately, so that's fine. They can gain some life to survive for one turn. And then now they get to crack back once, but I can Finishing Blow off the attack if it ends up somehow being anywhere near lethal. Which, I mean, with 9 power now, it is it is close to lethal, but triple Finishing Blow, I could kill it when they attack with it and just turn it into a 2/2 knight with Lieutenant's ability. So, that game was pretty brutal. That definitely shows off how powerful that Brash Taunter can be to just lock the game down and turn it into a game where the red deck really is in control, which is super weird. But as we saw from our first round, it's not unbeatable. If you just have a ton of card advantage and stuff, you can really get around it by going wide. This hand's very awkward. I do have a Grasp of Darkness that I can cast. If I draw any land, I get to cast Liliana's Devotee, or Devotee. I don't know what's the best way to pronounce that. And obviously if I draw Mountain, this hand's great, because then I get my Magmut out, and I can get Taunter later. Opponent goes first, so we're on the draw. I think with that knowledge, I'm going to keep this. It is very similar to the hand I kept when we were playing the 41-card Jund special in the second draft. And we got destroyed when we kept that one, but clearly it's working out better this time. There's an Alpine Watchdog, 2/2 Vigilance, and a Short Sword could turn it into a 3/3 Vigilance. Pretty scary. Still not scary enough that I want to save up for a removal spell immediately. I think I want to just play a Devotee, and I'm okay with taking 3 this turn, and then I'll do 1 to them with Magmut. Next turn I get to cast a Magmut and save up mana for Grasp of Darkness, and then I'll kill the Watchdog or something bigger if they play something bigger. Here comes the Short Sword onto the Watchdog, 3/3 Vigilance coming in hot. Keeping me from attacking back even. And a Quirion Dryad. That could potentially be a lot bigger than Watchdog in the future whenever they cast one of their white spells, since they seem to be green-white. That will get a +1/+1 counter, plus in green-white there are a lot of cards that care about +1/+1 counters. Inspired Veteran, Pride Malkin, stuff like that. So maybe I should have Grasp of Darkness before I passed the turn, just while they were tapped out. That way I know for sure they have no way to save Quirion Dryad, but I can just do it now, since they tapped out for Falconer Adept. That was definitely lucky, because that would feel really bad if I waited till their turn, and they just played like another Watchdog and attacked, and then I tried to Grasp of Darkness and they had a Titanic Growth or something. That would have been pretty awful. So I think we'll just drop the Taunter down now, and we'll find out shortly if they have an answer, because if they do, I think you play it as soon as possible. If not, we have reached a board stall where I'm going to start doing 3 damage to them a turn off of Taunter, and 2 damage a turn off the Magmuts. That's why these Magmuts are so good, is that they actually just still work in a board stall. Pride Malkin giving trample to something is actually kind of a big deal. That makes it so I will double block with a Devotee and a Magmut if they attack with that. Because if I just block with Taunter, they will still trample over for a couple damage. The problem with this is if they have the instant speed 2 mana Feat of Resistance to give it +1/+1 and protection from a color, they could screw me over. But if I block with a red creature and a black creature, only one of these creatures will die, even if they Feat of Resistance. However, if they Titanic Growth, they'll both die. I'm going to block like this and hope they have nothing. Feat of Resistance would be bad, but Titanic Growth would be abysmal. Alright, nothing. Very nice. And now Brash Taunter gets to block something next turn and fight with their 1/1 flyer, just to make sure that I'm safe. Gonna save up the mana to use Taunter or Finishing Blow rather than playing a creature. I could actually... I kinda like fighting the bird right now, because then I get a 2/2 zombie out of Devotee. If I do that, though, they get to attack with the 3/3, and I don't have great blocks for it. I guess I would block with a Magmut and a 2/2 zombie. Because I could do the same thing with Taunter on their Pride Milk in the next turn. So actually, yeah, I can just spit out zombies now using the fight ability, which is pretty huge. Oh yeah, they're 3/2 zombies because Devotee gives them +1 power. So I actually just get to trade a zombie with the Watchdog if they attack. That's so good. And if they keep playing 1 toughness creatures, it's going to go really poorly for them. But I guess it would go poorly either way, because Brash Taunter is just such a sick card that, like, if they didn't have 1 toughness creatures, the play would be to just keep fighting their 3/3 and pinging them for 1. And just doing it at their end step instead to stay safe. But the fact that I have Devotee plus Brash Taunter, it's just so cool that I just have to, right? Just the coolest. I mean, definitely not for my opponent, but... If I had 1,000,000 mana, I could also put the second one out, and then they all have +2 power, and I get 2 of them a turn when I fight things. Alright, there's the concession from our opponent. They just didn't draw anything that could deal with the Taunter soon enough, so I just started spitting out zombies and stuff. I think spitting out the zombies, fighting with the 1 toughness creatures, is probably the best play. Like, it's not only the coolest and most interesting play that I just wanted to do, I think it's also the best play just because of the fact that if they ended up drawing a Faith's Fetters or something, that would turn the game around drastically if I weren't adding anything to the board. If I were just sitting there and pinging them with Brash Taunter over and over, then the second Brash Taunter's gone, my board is meaningless, really, because then I'm stuck with a 2/2 and a 2/3, that's it. But if I keep fighting their 1 toughness creatures and spitting out more zombies, even if they deal with Brash Taunter, I have several 3/2s that can trade with the rest of their board, so I'm safe in that sense as well. So now we're against a blue-red player, at least. They could be more colors. In this color, it's rare, but you can go up to 5 colors if you really want to. If you pick up a lot of these dual lands and cultivates and stuff, you could try to do the Shrine deck, which could be interesting. So, who knows? They are 3 colors now, green, blue, and red. And here's a Fierce Empath, so probably just green-red or green-blue splashing a 3rd color would be my guess. They reveal a Colossal Dreadmaw. Kind of a scary card for my deck, just because Brash Taunter is my main win condition, and Trample is good against Taunter, but my deck also has like 50 finishing blows, so we'll probably be fine. I don't really want to trade my 2/1 Trample with a 1/1, so if they want to start attacking me for 1 damage a turn, I guess they get to do that. Yep, I mean, I allow it. This feels bad. Feels weak. There's a Truffle Snout. I'll probably just grasp that. I don't expect a lot of things on their side of the field to end up being able to be killed by a Grasp of Darkness. I guess I could also just wait, because Pitchburn Devils can fight that really well. I'll just wait, because if it's bad enough that I have to grasp it during this turn, I can do that. But if they also have, like, Gnarled Sage as a 5-mana 4/4, I can fight that here. So they attacks before playing any land, which would be the smart play if they're super smart. But I'm going to hope that it means that they didn't draw land this turn, so there's not a Gnarled Sage coming. Titanic Growth would just counter this Grasp of Darkness. That would be fine. Then I just got rid of a Titanic Growth for a Grasp. It's a fair trade. definitely not the worst thing that could have happened. Okay, they didn't draw land, so I like the grasp play. And now Pitchburn Devils keeps their field off of me. So we are safe until they play bigger stuff. Now they're just going to shock my 2-1, I guess. Seems fair. They still stuck on 4 here. Nope, there is the 5th mana. If they play Gnarled Sage, I'll be very sad. Use a Hunter's Edge. That's brutal. If this were Prey Upon like it used to be in the past, I could have killed their 4-4, but because it doesn't fight, it just deals damage, their 4-4 was just not going to die. So now I know they've already spent a Titanic Growth and a Hunter's Edge, so I'm hoping that their hand is just stuff like Colossal Dreadmaw now, to where they don't have any tricks, so a 4-5 can just hold off this 4-4, and I can save my finishing blows for the Colossal Dreadmaws. But of course, it would not be enough. Just a Ranger's Guile for +1/+1. I still like to take those trades as often as I can in the early game, where I'm like, alright, get rid of your removal spell, get rid of your Ranger's Guile now, because if I choose to not block, I just go to 7, I still have my 4-5 out then that I'll save it to block something later, but then when I'm casting a finishing blow, it's going to end up being me casting a finishing blow on a 6/6 trample Colossal Dreadmaw when it's attacking me, and they'll respond by giving it +1/+1 and hexproof. So while it was bad to lose my 4-5 to a Ranger's Guile, I think Ranger's Guile would have put me in a worse position later in the game, which is why I try to get rid of those little combat tricks and nonsense as early as possible. Try to trade here with Flash, and it works. There's the 6th mana for Colossal Dreadmaw, so we're going to start shooting those with finishing blows. Would love to have a Devotee out on the board before I do this finishing blow, but then I'm going to take 6 to the face and go to 5 if I choose to play Devotee first. I mean, it's risky, but it's insanely risky, because I'd have to play Devotee this turn, and I'd have to draw into a basic land next turn, because I need 7 mana to spend 5 to kill that, and 2 to make a zombie. Also, I kind of want a finishing blow now before they untap, because they're playing blue and they're playing Ranger's Guile. They could have more Ranger's Guile, they could have counter spells. I'm just going to finishing blow right now. I'm not super confident with that, because the upside of having Liliana's Devotee on the board when I finishing blow is pretty huge. But at the same time, it is pretty risky. And as you can see, we didn't even draw a basic land anyway, so we wouldn't have been able to make a zombie anyway. So it all worked out, especially since they're down to just a 1/3 and a 2/2 Magmut. Magmut's pretty scary, though. Magmut gets to tap and do a damage to us every turn, so we're on a clock. It's an 11-turn clock, but it's a clock. Not going to sacrifice anything, just going to attack with my 3/3. If I get one of their creatures to chump block or trade, I get to make a 2/2 zombie. That'd be pretty awesome. I guess Devotee only triggers during my end step, so if I have to finishing blow something during their turn, that would be sad. But if they just have the 2/2 and the 1/3, I definitely don't have to finishing blow something. I can just block the 2/2 if they choose to attack with everything. Okay, now I have a Magmut. Gonna wait on the Magmut until I know how they block. Because if they draw into a pump spell, they'll just block and use the pump spell, kill my 3/3, and then I'll want that mana to make a 2/2 zombie. So I want to make sure to play Magmut in main phase 2 after I know that no creatures have died this turn. Now I still have my 5 mana for a finishing blow at instant speed if need be. We are at the lower life total, but I think we can definitely gain control of this game with this board. Our board is now monumentally better than theirs. Capture Sphere does even it out, but Liliana's Devotee much more valuable than Snare Spinner, so our board is still better. But we can no longer attack well. Can Direfleet Warmonger sacrifice itself? No. See, this is what I was talking about when I say that all the cards they make now usually can't sacrifice themselves. Like, Warmonger can't sacrifice itself, but Crypt Lurker can. I don't know how I feel about that. Because now I would love to just sacrifice Warmonger to make a zombie token, But the fact that they played a Gnarled Sage means at least I get to just kill the Gnarled Sage to do that. And I forgot to do a damage to them with my Magmut. Unless I just played Magmut, I don't remember. My short-term memory should probably be a lot better if I want to be good at Magic. Definitely not attacking. End the turn. Make a 3/2 zombie token. And we'll start attacking with that bad boy. Oh, come on. Mythic Rare, 5 mana, 5/4 flyer. Spells that target it cost me 3 life to cast, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield under their control, they get to deal damage equal to its power to any target. So, I mean, we probably just lose. I do have 2 more Grasp of Darkness, and I think 1 more Finishing Blow, maybe 2. I need to draw one of those right now, or this Terror of the Peaks is just going to win the game by itself. Okay. Okay. I mean, we go to 6, so this Magmut is getting very terrifying. I'm actually going to attack with my own Magmut, because it does 2 damage on attacks. And, well, actually, if I attack, they just block with the 1/3. If I block with Devotee, the only way they can kill the Devotee is to block with Magmut and get Magmut killed. So if I attack with everybody, they'd have to double block Devotee. I kill the Magmut. They take 5, and they're stuck with a 1/3 against 2 2/2s. Then they start taking 2 a turn. This is rough. That 3 toughness is pretty huge. I'm on a 6-turn clock to kill them. I think I want to wait. I want to get this zombie token first, but then I'll start just spam attacking with everybody. Potentially. Like, I'm at 6 life, so I definitely need to think about how they could crack back when I start thinking about that kind of plan. But I'm not going to start doing that just immediately. I just don't think it lines up well. See what they drew now. Oh my god, nothing. Okay, I'm surprised they scooped, because they weren't immediately dead that turn. They put me to 4, so if they have like Volcanic Geyser in their deck, there were definitely outs that I was terrified they could potentially draw into, but I'll absolutely take the win. Very glad that I didn't just snap concede against the Mythic Dragon, because that card is super scary and super brutal, but you know, I had to just calm myself, gather my thoughts, remember that my deck is absolutely full of removal. That was definitely a really scary game. Even if they died the literal next turn, they could have tapped Magmon, I'd be down to 4, so it was very, very close overall. This hand is unkeepable. We have a double black card. Nothing that we can cast with these 2 mountains yet. We have to draw specifically a swamp to be able to cast anything. It's not even like we could draw any land and be able to cast things. Because if we just keep drawing mountains, we don't get to cast anything till turn 5 even, and that's if we draw a mountain every single turn. We just have to mulligan it. This is a lot more keepable. We can get rid of one of these mountains, and then it's double Grasp of Darkness and a Magmut, all 3 of which are castable with the current mana in hand. Opponent starts with a mountain of their own. Red-blue over there. Red-blue spells is the red-blue strategy usually. Lots of instants and sorceries. Cards that get +1/+1 counters when you cast instants and sorceries. Cards that get +1/+1 till end of turn when you cast instants and sorceries. And cards that can return them from the graveyard to the hand. They're thinking a lot at 3 mana, so they may have a Spellgorger Weird, the 3 mana 2/2 that gets a +1/+1 counter, or they could have Mistral Singer, lots of different stuff they could have at 3. Looks like they're going to play an Onaki Ogre first. That might be trying to bait out some removal. I'm just going to play a Hobble Fiend. I'll offer the trade with the Ogre. If they attack with it, Worst case scenario on the attack is they have a Sure Strike to give it first strike. Then we're trading Hobble Fiend for a Sure Strike. Furious Rise coming out from our opponent, so that kind of makes me wish that I had grasped the Onaki Ogre, but with two 2-power creatures, and not just having the infinite knowledge of knowing that a Furious Rise was coming out next turn, I'm still fine with the way I played. And they just drew an island anyway, but now that they have that Furious Rise, I am straight up just going to kill that Ogre. So they have to draw into another 4-power creature to draw more cards out of Furious Rise. This card gives them a card every end step if they have a power 4 or greater creature. So just going to stop them from doing that. Unless they just play another one right now. That would be unfortunate. But in red-blue, there's not a ton of them. They'd be all on the red side, like Turret Ogre. So unfortunately, they will draw another card. And it's an opt, so it's actually castable too. I'm just gonna keep on keeping on. Shutting off the Furious Rise as often as possible. Hopefully they don't slam down another 4-power creature. I'd like to clear the way eventually. At the absolute worst, we are just clearing the way for our attacks every turn. Putting some pressure on them. We're putting them down to 11 this turn. And once you're at like 10 or less life, that actually makes Magmut very threatening, even if you get defensive blockers. Like an Igneous Cur. And an Onaki Ogre. They just always have the 4-power creature. I think we have to accept that at this point. There's a Goblin Wizardry. They can cast that until the end of their next turn, so they're just going to cast that during their next turn, most likely. I'm going to play Devotee. Attack with both my creatures. If they trade with one of my creatures, I get to make a 2/2 zombie. I tapped very incorrectly. I meant to save up mana for Grasp of Darkness. So now I'm all in on them trading for one of my creatures, which is not a good place to be. I guess we do put them down to 7 with this. I really, really hope they take a trade here. Awesome. Super awesome. They take both the trades. Oh my god. Thank goodness. That would have been really bad if they just didn't take any trades and then I don't even have Grasp of Darkness mana up. So yeah, the best play was to tap Swamp and double Mountain. That way I'm holding up either a 2/2 zombie or a Grasp of Darkness. Really glad that worked out because I almost just threw a really good play into the trash with the way I tapped my mana. There's a Solemn Simulacrum. That means they won't be casting that Goblin Wizardry, which I'm very happy about, so they lose the value of that card. It is exiled forever. Oh no, it's until they exile another card with Furious Rise. Oh, so it actually stays until they have another 4-power creature on board. Wow. So I could Grasp Solemn, then I get to hit them for 5 and get another zombie confirmed. Yeah, probably the best play. If I attack with everything, they will trade with the zombie and I'll get to get another zombie. But I want to get aggressive here. My opponent definitely has the card advantage with Furious Rise, with Solemn Simulacrum. They've had plenty of draw, so we're just going to put the pressure on and try to kill them with their 6 life left before they can just cast too many spells for me to deal with. Spellgorger Weird's a pretty big threat. Even with 5 damage in hand, they might be able to... That's a horrible way to tap. That was worse than the way I tapped Grasp of Darkness. Anyways, with 3 cards in hand, they might be able to save this from a turn to slag. If they have anything that just gives +1/+1, I guess they could even, like, triple opt or something and it would save it, but it would be really rare. It would be really rare in red-blue, but it would be possible that they have 4 instants they could cast because opt could draw into another one. But unfortunately, opponent did not have one, so turn to slag did that right there. The way that the auto tapper wanted to tap all of my black mana for that turn to slag when the only other card that cost any mana on my field was 1 and a black to make a 2/2 zombie makes me feel a little less bad about the way that I tapped earlier, where I could have held up Grasp of Darkness and accidentally did it. Because at least it wasn't as bad as the auto tapper was. My god. At least it kept 1 black mana up. Or at least I kept 1 black mana up. Alright, so we're at 4 wins, so this is better than I have ever done in this format before in a video. Unfortunately, another hand we're going to have to mulligan. I don't get to cast anything until I grab a mountain or 3 more lands if I don't hit a mountain. So, this is going to have to be a mulligan. Looks like opponent mulliganed as well. Or was that a keep? I don't know. It made a little sound and their hand shook around, so I don't know what that means. Definitely going to keep this one and toss one of these lands on the bottom. So we can play our Imp first if we need to play defensively, or the Magmut first if we don't. And it looks like we don't, so we'll play the larger power creature first. Hopefully I hit a swamp, that way I can cast Imp and save up Death Touch immediately. That would be great, especially since they just played a 1/4 flyer. Unfortunately, did not get the swamp. Probably still better to play the Imp than the zombie, because then I get to threaten Death Touch next turn. Get them to stop attacking with the Patrician. Patrician is a 1/4 flying lifelink at the beginning of their end step. If they gain 3 or more life during their turn, I will lose 3 life. Sky Scanner coming out, 1/1 flyer, drawing a card. So they do get to attack with the Patrician since they don't have Death Touch yet, and they just get to gain a life here. And then the Magmut will make them lose that life, so it all evens out. Did not draw another swamp. I am still just going to cast Cage Zombie, because the Imp can just block Patrician. And then I won't be losing any life. They do still get to keep gaining that life, though. Unless I'm holding black mana up. Celestial Enforcer's pretty bad. They can use that to start tapping my only flyer to just get in. It'll only be 2 damage a turn, but it adds up when they start stacking out even more flyers. It's going to start being 3 a turn. I'm actually going to want to Finishing Blow the tapping creature, probably. Oh, wow. They're not even, they're not going to tap something. So they must be holding 3 mana up for something. Maybe they want to tap when it goes to my turn? Unclear. They're thinking a lot, so they could have another instant speed ability in their hand. They do have 3 cards in hand. We did hit the land, so we have enough mana to Finishing Blow something, or we could just drop a Pitchburn Devils. I don't think Pitchburn Devils is going to be all that helpful until we get rid of the Enforcer. So I'm just going to be ready to Finishing Blow Celestial Enforcer when they give me the opportunity. Yep, they're just going to tap the Imp right now. I'll go ahead and Finishing Blow that while they're tapped out, so I know they can't counter this. The Imp will still be tapped since they did use the ability. So I will be taking 3 in the air this turn, but in future turns I can actually block with my 1/2 Death Touch Imp. And that'll get them to just not attack with their flyers again. So that's good. If they don't play another creature this turn, I also get to get in with my zombie and my Magmut, I guess. Gormand is definitely another creature, though, and it's a really scary one. 5/5 flying trample, 100% going to just kill that with Finishing Blow. I'm trying to decide if I want the zombie or the Magmut more. I think I want the Magmut more. Even though it has 1 less toughness, it can always deal damage to my opponents. And I mean, I guess that's it. It can always deal damage to my opponent. And they both have the same amount of power anyway for just attacking. Secure the Scene on my Imp to let the flyers come in. The fact that they used that on my 1/2 flying Imp Would be pretty great for me if they don't have other removal in their hand, because here's the 6/6 flyer. Is this one just a mainstay? That would be awesome. I doubt it. They probably have like a finishing blow as well. Tolarian Kraken will help too. Whenever they draw a card, they can pay 1 mana to tap or untap a creature. So every draw step, they can tap my dragon down if I save it to block, but the fact that they played the Kraken, meaning that whenever they draw a card, they can just pay 1 to tap this, means I'm just going to attack with it. I have 6 red. It attacks as a 12 power flyer. If they don't block it, I can do 12 to them. They probably just block with Skyscanner. That is the play. Don't have to spend any mana then. And now I can just drop my Pitchburn Devils. I'm actually going to threaten Grasp of Darkness here. Just maybe they'll play around it for some reason. I don't know, it could help. I have literally no cards in hand, though. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. Maybe I'm just tired of the auto tapper. I'm going to tap things myself from now on. Obsessive Stitcher's really nice. They get to bring back that Gourmand as a 5/5 flying trample. That'll make me sacrifice something when it comes into play. That's actually pretty huge, because then they can also double block with the 5/5 trample and the 1/4, and I can only kill... Well, I guess since I have the fire breathing mana, I could kill both their flyers. But they get to kill Hellkite Punisher, so that's huge. Gale Swooper's pretty huge here too, because it gets them 4 more damage to me this turn. Send in for 5. They're not going to do it, though. Interesting. Interesting. I guess they really want a decent blocker for, like, Pitchburn Devils. Alright, didn't draw anything useful. Didn't even draw... A Sacrifice Outlet would be great here, because then I could just kill Obsessive Stitcher. If I attack with Pitchburn Devils, they're just going to block it with the 1/4 if they're smart. But it might be worth sending it in anyway, just because if they're attacking with Tolarian Kraken, I can just block with the 1/1. I guess they can spend their mana to... Oh yeah, they can just spend their mana to tap down the 1/1 anyway, and then I'll have to block with Magmut. Yeah, I'll send in the Pitchburn Devils. Interesting. So they don't want to take 12 again. So I guess we get to kill the Gale Swooper, and then they'll just have the 1/4 flyer and the 5/5 flyer. Still going to be enough to trade. But we'll get rid of all their flyers in the trade. Definitely tapping the 1/1 now. Probably should have saved the Pitchburn Devils back. Should have respected my opponent's intelligence. And known that they would have just blocked with the lifelinker anyway. So they're not doing anything right now. They're going to wait till blocks to bring it back. Oh my god, Brash Taunter? So good. So good. That's going to be absolutely brutal. Alright, that's my plan to win now, is Brash Taunter. We send in with the Hellkite Punisher, and we're going to trade Hellkite Punisher for both their dudes. Oh, they're going to draw a card and discard a card and tap it down with the Kraken's ability. That is a powerful combo that I did not realize until just now. So they actually don't even need to bring something back from the grave to block that. Well, we're now 100% all in on the Brash Taunter then. But Brash Taunter plus Hellkite Punisher means we're doing a load of damage, an absolute load. Every time we tap it. So they're dead in 2 turns, basically. If they can't deal with one of these two. Because all we gotta do is pump the Punisher like twice. Oh, they can just deal with both of them at the same time. Must feel nice. They're just putting them in our hands, though, so... They'll survive for quite a while longer, but not forever. Okay, I was going to say I don't agree with this attack at all, because now I can block with Pitchburn Devils and then kill the Obsessive Stitcher, which is huge. And then I think they realized that and got very tilted because of the misplay. But it's okay, opponent. I've definitely made worse misplays in these videos. In my Jund draft, I literally played an untapped land to play my 3-mana card and then decided to not play any cards that turn. And passed the turn. I'm never going to let myself live that down. That was so dumb. I don't even know how I brain farted like that. So I'll absolutely take the win. But yeah, once I saw that attack coming in with the 4-6, that made me very happy, and apparently made my opponent very, very unhappy. So again, by blocking with Pitchburn Devils would die. I get to throw the 3 damage at the 0-3. They no longer get to use the Stitcher to keep drawing cards to tapping down my flyer, and they don't get to use the Stitcher's secondary effect to bring back their scary flyer from the grave. It just made things just way safer for me by being able to kill the Stitcher. Attack for 1. They're in white and green. They're not going to have a haste Death Toucher to come at me. Or a haste flyer to come at me. That I would need my Death Toucher to block. I'll just drop a Direfleet Warmonger. Strangely enough, I have no non-creature cards in this hand. In my deck, that's just a bunch of non-creature removal, mainly. So, we'll wait on the Spellgorger Weird, because it's just going to be a 2-2 for a while. Play our other threats first. So I like this deck. Green, black, and white with the Cultivates to fix the mana. I just like Cultivate decks. I just think they're neat. I do have a Finishing Blow in hand now, so I'm actually going to drop the Spellgorger Weird first. They may play like a 5-mana 4/4 reach Gnarled Sage this turn. And then if I draw a basic land, I'd love to just Finishing Blow that and send in for 7. That'd be a sick turn. Valorous Steed is a lot worse for me than a Gnarled Sage would be, since it is 2 blockers. A 3/3 and a 2/2, so if I attack with both my creatures, they will just die. They will flat out die. But I'll kill their creatures too, but still don't think it's worth the attack anymore. We'll just drop a Liliana's Devotee. Set up for future turns. I would rather have the Imp back to block just in case than deal 1 single damage to my opponent. Because you never know, they might play some kind of really big aura or something. Malefic Scythe. That's a pretty big equipment. It's pretty small at the start, but in the future. So they are going to do that. They're going to play a big equipment and send in. So I might trade with the Death Touch Imp. Oh! It'll attack as a 5/4 Vigilance, so that's a really big threat. So this trades with either my Imp or their choice between my Warmonger and my Devotee. And if I block with these two, or these two, they just kill both of them. So the block is either Imp or Warmonger Devotee. Kind of want to save a flying thing back, just in case they play flyers, but I gotta remember this deck is nothing but removal. If they play flyers, I'll just Finishing Blow flyers. So I'll actually just trade with the Imp so I can maybe get aggressive against them, because then their field is a 2/2 and a 0/3. So I can actually start cracking back then with my 2/3 and my 3/3 at the very least. And if I play a non-creature spell, I can just attack with everybody after this block. Okay. Well, now I have the mana to play this non-creature spell, but I don't want to Finishing Blow one of these cards. For that reason, I'm not going to send in the Spellgorger. I'll just send in the creatures that are large enough to get blocked by the knight and not die. I suppose it could be a big tempo swing, like a big aggro swing to send in the Spellgorger Weird. If they block and try to trade 2/2s, I do just Finishing Blow the battlements. But I've got this 1 Finishing Blow and they ramped up in a deck with green in it. I just feel like it's a bit risky of a play for my tastes. Alright, we just get that very safe 3 damage in instead. So, again, they're green, white, black. They're not going to have haste. We'll just play these creatures and Finishing Blow next turn. If they Mind Rot me, that would be disastrous. But I haven't seen a lot of people playing Mind Rot. It's not a card I've really run very often. Mind Rot's the 3-mana sorcery that forces someone to discard 2 cards. It's really mean. It's really, really mean, basically. Sanguine Indulgence with only 1 creature in grave means they bring back a Valorous Steed, and that's it. Sanguine Indulgence usually brings back 2 creatures from the grave. But even just bringing back a Valorous Steed is pretty powerful, seeing as Valorous Steed is 2 creatures in 1. So I get to take 5 Vigilance damage. I don't have any good blocks here. Any block I would make would kill 2 of my creatures at the price of their 1, so I'll just take 5. The Scythe is going to start getting really scary. Another land. If I kill the 4/4, I get to attack with everybody else. They get to block one of my 2 power creatures. And they take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That feels big enough. Oops, I accidentally closed Arena. Okay, I'm back in. That feels big enough to be an actual play here, even though I'm literally just killing a creature token. Putting them to 5 life or killing their wall just seems like straight gas. We're going back on the aggro. Now if we top deck any of our removal, they are intensely close to dying. They're down to 5. I even have a caged zombie that if creatures start dying, I can do 2 damage to them a turn without even attacking with it. So we're in a really good spot. They do have 3 blockers, so they could go block, block, block. Then they take 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I sacrifice a creature to Hobble Fiend, that'd still be lethal if they don't play any other blockers. So if they don't have any instants or sorceries in hand or any other blockers, I have lethal on board. Grasp of Darkness basically confirms that this is lethal. Massive draw. Get that blocker out of the way. Make the weird even bigger. Not going to sacrifice a creature, not a teacher. Just send in with the squad, and there is no block that saves them. They need a 2-mana instant to save them. And I don't know what in the format would. They're taking 7 damage off of the things that they not blocked, and no instants means that is game. So if they had a Swift Vengeance, they could have killed our Devotee, and then they would have killed that, and our zombie would have 1 less power. So then we'd only be dealing 4 to them on board, but the Hobble Fiend, we could just sacrifice everything they blocked. So I think even with a Swift Vengeance, that would have been game. So that was pretty huge. We're at 6 wins and only 1 loss. Brash Taunter has been putting in a lot of work, but just the stack of removal that we were past in this draft has done so much work as well, as we could see from that game where we didn't even cast the Taunter. I would say, though, most of our games have involved Brash Taunter being a little jerk face. So, awkward hand. We're on the play, so we don't draw a card on the first turn. And the only castable card in this hand is Magmut. We have to draw 3 cards before we can play most of this hand. We have to draw 3 lands before we can play most of this hand, like Finishing Blow, Brash Taunter, Pitchburn Devils. All of that costs 5. We don't have any black mana. I think this is worth a mulligan, but it's close because, Magmut is castable and 1 swamp makes Imp castable. I do think this is still worth a mulligan, though. This hand is definitely worse. We don't play anything until turn 5. We have no black with a double black card in hand. I'm going to go to the mold of 5, and awkwardly enough, this is the best hand that we've drawn thus far. The double swamp, all black card hand is the best hand we've drawn so far. The 5-card hand. However, it's a 5-card hand. If we lose this game, I'm not going to feel bad about it at all. We are statistically incredibly likely to lose this game, starting with a 5-lander, or a 5-card hand. They're not all lands. Against a full 7. On the play as well. Super, super rough luck on the draws. Yeah, Death Bloom Thalad's absolutely brutal. And it's just like a regular card. It's just like whatever, you know? But just the fact that it's 2 cards in one, it's a 3/2 and then it's a 1/1. Anything that gives them just even a remote amount of value here is going to be really bad because we need all the value we can get. To come back from the 5-card opener. Yeah, I mean, that's just going to be game. My only removal gives -4/-4. That gives +3/+1 and flying to their 5 toughness creature. Even if I grasp right now, it won't die. That'll attack me in the sky for 5. Even if I somehow get removal for this creature eventually, Demonic Embrace can be cast from their grave by paying 3 life and discarding a card. So all they have to do is pay 3 life, go to 17, discard a land card, and then they throw it on Thalad, and I die to that instead. So that is game. There's absolutely no coming back from this. However, not going to concede, just going to play it out. Going to try to play it out quickly, though, because it's going to hurt more the longer I make it last. We're dead in 3 turns now. 3-turn clock, absolutely no answers to the grub. I suppose we die in 4 turns. We do get to Grasp of Darkness just to survive the 3rd attack. Well, we don't get to do that anymore, because Freebooter will take our Grasp of Darkness, so we have to just kill Freebooter. Otherwise, Freebooter has Grasp of Darkness exiled underneath it. Brutal. Just a swamp. Even a mountain wouldn't save us, but wouldn't feel as bad, because we could put Taunter out, and then at least we could fight their 5/6 one time, and be like, haha, look at all this damage I dealt to you. Just really tough luck. This card is very sweet, and they managed to play it after a creature died, so there's a caged zombie. We've got nothing in the air. It is time to accept defeat in our face. Going to -4. Alright, so let's head into the final boss. Final round, 6 wins and 2 losses means win or loss. Here comes the last game. I would absolutely love to win this game. I said at the start of this video this was going to be the 7-win run, or I said that I would like this to be the 7-win run. I don't remember exactly, but if I lived up to that opener, that would be pretty groovy. Let's see what we got. It's a keepable hand. It's not crazy. It's not great. It's not as good as I was hoping for after that little speech there, but it's definitely not worth the mulligan. We have a 2/3 on turn 3. We're very good at stopping 2/2s. If they just play a bunch of 2/2s, we block with 2/3s. But then we've got the Finishing Blow and the Bone Pit Brute for the late game. They did just play a 2/2. We have a creature that can block that at least. Of course, they'll probably have a Feat of Resistance in white. That would be awful. Ooh, I don't like them coming in with the aggressive start of 2/2 into 3/1, because now we're just going to sit here and take some damage off this 3/1 for a while. Especially if I don't draw the 5th land. If I draw the 5th land, this Brash Taunter should hold them off. Make things pretty safe. But I can't really trade with the 3/1. If I trade with the 3/1, I have nothing to block the 2/2. So I'm still going to be just taking damage every turn. I'll be taking 1 less damage every turn, but Spellgorger Weird's a good draw. I'm 100% going to just block their 3/1 with that 2/2. It could get bigger over the course of a long game with multiple finishing blows in this hand, but this game's not going to be a long game if I don't start blocking. Do they have the Feat of Resistance? They do not. We get to kill the 3/1. Very happy with that. We will be taking 1 in the sky for a while. Would have loved to hit the 5th land, but a blocker's good as well. We're only taking 1 damage a turn right now. We're not under any immense threats. Just Not yet, at least. Angelic Ascension puts us under a massive threat. We need the 5th land immediately. We have to finishing blow that 4/4 flyer, or we're dead in 2 turns. Pretty likely to be even 1 turn if they have any kind of pump spell. Oh my god, no! That's about as brutal of a draw as we could have gotten. It requires double black to cast that, but it would kill the angel. My god. I'm actually going to be really salty if we lose this game, just because if we just hit every land drop... If we hit every land drop, this hand destroys this field. I just grasp the 4/4, and then I could even finishing blow the 1/2 if I'm that scared of it. And then I just establish a Brash Taunter on board with these other threats. I already have 2 threats on board, but that's a loss. I mean, I can't cast the Grasp of Darkness. I only have 1 black. I can't cast the finishing blows. I don't have my 5th mana. Wow. Really sad way to end this draft. I feel we came so close. We came right to the pinnacle, right to the precipice of greatness. And then we rolled a natural 1 on a d20 twice in a row. This game we did not get as unlucky as we did last game, and there was the land. We were 1 card from the land. 1 card from the land. Why you gotta do this to me, world? Oh. So yeah, we weren't that tremendously unlucky this game. We were just generally unlucky this game, but having that amount of unluck after the game where we got completely hosed by the shuffler is just a really, really rough way to end the draft. But hey, still a better record than I've ever had in one of these Premier Draft videos of the core set. So far, we get 5 packs to open up at the end here. Check out what kind of goodies we get. And I would like to thank you all for watching. I hope you had fun watching the video, or at least as much fun as I had playing it, which was fun most of the time, until the very end. We did get that Conspicuous Snoop that we passed up in the draft. Really cool card to have in your collection for Goblin decks in Historic, and in Historic Brawl and everything. So, as I was saying, thank you all for watching. If you want to see more videos, you're already at the right place. Just like, comment, and subscribe for more. If you want to watch me play live, I'm live every now and then on Twitch. I don't really have a consistent schedule for that anymore, but I will be back on Twitch playing Historic Brawl with viewers. Since I'm not trying to hit Mythic anymore, that's what I tried to do last month, and it got a little draining. I got a little burnt out on Magic because of that, and that's why there hadn't been videos for a while, so I don't think I'm going to try to do that again. But I'll probably do Historic Brawl streams semi-frequently again, at least once a week. Garruk is a pretty sick rare to open up in this pack, another really cool card for Brawl. I don't believe this is seeing any Standard or Historic play right now, but definitely a sick card for casual games of Brawl. And that is my favorite constructed format. That is what I'm all about using the cards in my collection for. Containment Priest, cool rare, good against Winota, stops them from cheating stuff into play, just exiles it, which is pretty nice. And our final rare is Basri, Ket, another mythic rare planeswalker. Pretty fantastic pulls out of 5 packs. Multiple mythics, multiple planeswalkers even. Just really, really great packs to end it on. So all of the luck that we lost out on in our last couple of games, it all just fueled our pulls in the booster packs at least. So that's cool. So as I said before, thank you for watching, and I will see you all again very soon for some more Magic Arena content.